Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, we did say that we were going to open by looking at the 2019 elections. Well, they are less than 3 months away, and several candidates from different political parties have released their policy documents. So it's now left for us, the electorate, to look at those documents and then determine whom we're going to vote for. So it's my pleasure this morning to welcome two presidential candidates, one of the Accord Party, Isaac Babatunde Ositelu. Good morning.
Good morning.
And the Young Progressives Party, Dr. Kingsley Moghalu. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us, both of you. Now, let me start with you. What are your plans for Nigerians? Nigerians they're a bit weary of listening to promises, and broken promises at that.
Absolutely.
So I would assume that they're being very discerning now, and they're going to look at every document or every word that you all candidates say with a fine-tooth comb,
Yes.
as well as look at your antecedents. Say, is this man likely to keep his word?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
what are your plans for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I have put out my vision and my plans for Nigeria in a book, and I'm the first and only presidential candidate to have done so. And that book is titled Build, Innovate, and Grow. Big, my vision for Nigeria. And I have done so that you can hold me accountable. It's in a book. I can't deny the things I said I will do, if you see what I'm saying. So that, first of all, shows the level of seriousness that I'm bringing to this. My plans for Nigeria, and before I go into that, I want to say also that I have more than a plan. I have a plan to implement my plan. Let me be very clear. So the plan is based on a tripod. One is to heal Nigeria and build a nation. Nigeria is not a nation, it's just a country. I have said it several times. The second is to wage a very successful war against poverty and unemployment in this country. That's basically economic development and transformation. And the third is to restore Nigeria's standing in the world. And that is through the effective management and execution of foreign policy. And there is no candidate who has the kind of experience that I bring and track record that I bring. 17 years in the United Nations, helping to build and fix several other broken nations around the world, Rwanda, Cambodia, Croatia. Deputy Governor of the Central Bank in the commanding heights of economic management with a track record. You see, you talked about what the person has done in the past as an indicator of what you can expect from the person. I led the reform of the banking system that stabilized Nigeria's banks after the global financial crisis in 2008, making sure that no bank failed and that no depositor lost a kobo. I led the reforms that introduced the bank verification number, the BVN, and so many other achievements that we recorded at the central bank. So that's the plan: nation building, economic transformation, and a diplomatic resurgence for Nigeria. And the plan to implement the plan, which I talked about, is as follows.
We'll just hold it
before
you get into the plan to implement the plan.
That's all right.
I believe Mr. Ositelu also has a plan for the country, for Nigeria,
yes.
Nigerians and Nigeria. So let's hear yours. He's talked about big, build, innovate, and grow.
Yeah.
What's your plan?
Thanks for having me. My plans are very simple. First, I want to address the young people of this country directly. We have a plan to ensure that every young person in this country that have been defranchised will no longer be defranchised. The first thing we want to do is we will make sure that all young people are retrained so that they will be gainfully employed.
All, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
All young people in this country.
We'll come back to that.
Now, I'll give just a simple example. When you see the parachute release, there is a lot of things that goes into the parachute. The people that pack the parachute, the person that pushed the guy out. So what we are doing is we want to make sure that no matter what your skill, you have something to contribute to the project Nigeria. And in doing so, we will make sure that whatever it is, that your skill that you want to contribute to Nigeria is appreciated. The one thing that is missing in this country right now, which is the glue, is trust. A lot of people will talk about experience. A lot of people will talk about they have done A, B, C, and D. But what is missing, the glue that is missing in the advancement of Nigeria is trust. And our blueprint is very simple. It's called I-10. It's infrastructure, trust, economy, and next generation. Once we are able to be trusted, because right now, there is no trust between Nigerians and Nigeria. There is no trust between the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people. And there is no trust between the Nigerian government and the outside world.
All right. Thank you. So I-10.
Yeah.
Big. I like the acronyms.
Yeah.
But so let's get down to getting down. You've talked about trust. You spoke about your build-up, your antecedents, what you've done globally and what you've done locally. There are those who are concerned that, like the example you gave about the banking sector, the recapitalization of the banks, the process that led to the BVN, there are those who are concerned that it wasn't inclusive. So what's the guarantee that now, if that bit wasn't as inclusive as it should be, what's the guarantee that if you take an entire nation, you're going to be able to do an inclusive thing?
Because as president, the YPP, my party that I represent, will have a much bigger platform, much stronger level of authority to affect the lives of the Nigerian citizen. Our focus is on the citizen. We want to enthrone the citizen as the focus of governance. There's a difference between a president and, the central bank. The central bank manages the economy. And I want to tell you that in the central bank, the reforms we achieved are still being enjoyed in Nigeria to this day. They may not have been 100% successful, but they were at least 90% successful in my estimation. So there's no question in my mind that I will run as president of Nigeria an inclusive government. Let me give you an example. I was the first presidential candidate since 1999 certainly to announce a woman as my running mate for the presidency. Mrs. Umma Getso will be my vice president. She's a young woman from Kano State, aged 37 years. That is including the youth. That is including women. So I will run a very inclusive government, and you will see within 48 hours of my being sworn in as president that we will announce the secretary to the government, the national security advisor, chief of staff, and you will see I will announce my cabinet, those that I'm sending to the National Assembly, all within 48 hours. And you will see
48 hours of being sworn in.
Of being sworn in, yes, absolutely. My cabinet will be announced within 48 hours of being sworn in. And I can repeat it 100 times if you want.
Talking about repeating it, you said something in your preamble, and you said that because you had written this thing in a book,
yes,
that we could hold you accountable and you were not going to deny anything you said in that book.
Yeah.
But, sometimes people say things then when they get in the saddle,
That's
they
the point.
find that things
It's-
are not
it's not
exactly,
exactly-
what they
yes.
thought it was.
Exactly.
So they begin to modify their
Yes.
promises.
That's what I was saying about the plan, to implement the plan. And if you give me 1 minute, this is very important.
You will get more than a
break.
minute.
Okay. Okay. Okay.